This week on In Post, it is all about the magic of the Lighten blending mode. Hi everybody, my name is Scott Davenport and thanks for joining me this week on In Post. The photo I'm going to process today is from a scouting trip through downtown San Diego. I just went down with the camera. I did bring the tripod and just took a variety of shots walking through a couple of areas along the edges of the gas lamp district. And so the image we'll do today is of a pedestrian bridge, and I took several different frames of it. And the idea here being, number one, I was just playing around with some different camera settings and so forth, and some different compositions. But number two is realizing that there was not a lot of traffic during the time that I was there, and so I saw occasional cars driving through, taking additional frames to get some of those traffic lights, trails of headlights or brake lights through the frame to add a little more dynamism to it, to make it a little more lively. And so we're going to take a bunch of these images, put them together to make a single frame. And that's really going to happen with the magic of the Lighten blending mode. So let's get over to the computer and get started. So let me show you the layers that we're working with here. I've got 6 images all loaded as layers in perfect layers. And I've named them to keep me honest, keep me on track as I go through this. So the first is the base image, and this is the overall, I like most of what's happening in this image. The sky is a good color. There's still a good mix of ambient light and natural light in the sky. I've got a little bit of traffic trails going on here in the foreground. If I hide that layer for the moment, here's the midground, and this is what I'd call my dark frame. The sky is much darker, so there's more accentuated in the lights. I have some nice traffic streaming through in the front and also in the midground. This is what I wanted to catch as well to give some more interest in the middle of the frame. So these 2 images are going to make up the bulk of the work here. The remaining images, as I go down, is just really in the foreground traffic, these little accents. You've got a few lines that go through there, another one here with some on this side and some under the bridge, another one here, just filling all this stuff in, and then lastly, this guy here. And so I'm going to turn all of these back on, and we're really going to use the Lighten blending mode to do the heavy lifting for us. So I'm going to start by combining the base and the midground images. So here's the midground and here's the base. How I like to work with the Lighten blending mode is take the layer that I want to blend, in this case the midground. I want these lights and these streaks to be fused into my base image. So I'll put that layer on top and I'll switch the blending mode to Lighten. And it's as simple as that. You can see if I turn that off, you're going to notice that the skyline gets a little darker. These streaks here in the midground go away, and the foreground gets a little less traffic trails. Turn it back on, you can see. And that was just with a single click. They're really very nice, easily done. There is a little bit of cleanup that I do need to do. So in this base image, you can see I have this train here, and that's distracting. So as we go down farther into these layers, I'm going to be pulling in some data from one of the other layers to remove that train. You can see that the Lighten blending mode, things that are brighter on this midground layer show up, and the windows of this train show up, and that just looks a little strange. But for the rest of the image, it works really, really well. Again, one more time, before and after. And so really just changing that Lighten blending mode, it makes a big difference. And here, I'm just going to merge that down. I'm not going to keep these layers hanging around. There's really no need to. All right, let's move on to an accent of traffic. So I will take this traffic accent and bring it up to the top. And so we have a couple of things going on here. We've got the train is no longer here, the trolley I should say, and I've got some more bands of light here. So again, I'm going to switch this to the Lighten blending mode. Okay, and we can see we get more traffic accent before and after. A little bit more happening here, a little bit more brightness. There is some effect to the sky. You You can see that, and I don't like that. That does not look good. I really just want to limit this to the lower portion of the image. So I'm going to use a masking bug. Gradient shape is fine. Drop the bug, and let's rotate it around so that we're only, turn that on, that might actually help. Rotate that around so we're only letting the lighten blending mode happen for the lower part of the image. Okay, like that. And I do need to do something about this train here. I'm going to duplicate, let me take a quick peek at traffic accent 2. That's going to work there. We'll do that first. Okay, so accent 1, I'm going to merge that down. I've masked it so it's only showing these trails down here. Okay, let that merge. Great. Okay, now let's take a look here, see about cleaning up this train. These two are pretty close, so with the accent 1 highlighted, I'm going to find my masking brush. It's already set to paint out, and I'm just going to kind of work right through there, and boom, that's gone. That little corner right there too, and that's it. One of the nice things about blending the same scene multiple times is the blending is very forgiving. It's very easy just to paint away a certain section there and not have to worry about, is it lining up or does it look unnatural? Those frames were taken in very close proximity, and so the lighting conditions were very similar. Okay, so that's that part of it, and we also want to bring in a little more of these traffic trails. Now to do that, I'm actually going to duplicate the accent layer with this button here. And the reason for that is I want to take this part that I've merged, masked away the train, and just merge that down. And then I'll use the same lighten blending mode technique to bring in the trails from the cars moving by. Using the lighten blending mode gives a much cleaner masking, or blending rather, of these types of trails. And once again, I want to only have that affecting the lower part of the image. So we can see here, switch this cursor here, along the lower left corner we're getting more trails, and even here in the lower right corner. But up in the sky, I'm getting some strange artifacts. See, before and after. I don't want that. There's a little bit going on here too, which isn't necessarily bad. So let's grab our gradient tool, drop it roughly there. That's going to be fine, because I really just want to not have that sky having anything happen. And so we're just picking up some things here and a little bit of action in the midground. Merge that down, and you get the idea. I'm going to repeat this same steps for these last two layers of traffic accents, and we'll have a final image here in just a bit. Right, that's the final image. I'm going to save that really quickly, make sure I've got all my work persisted. So there's our final image, or at least our final blended image, and I'm just going to do now a tiny bit of stylization to finish things off. I'm first going to switch it into a smart layer, so this will tell the photo suite to remember everything that I'm editing. And we'll pop over into effects, and this is not going to need much. A little bit of contrast, and maybe a touch of tone. Let's start with dynamic contrast. It's looking really good. I like what it's doing here. Not so much in the sky. I don't need that much of a punch. It's not terrible. It's not overdone. So I might just keep that as it is. Maybe bring the large down to about 10. That should take some of the edge off of that. And maybe bring the smalls up, maybe 3. Let's maybe lower this down just a little bit, something like that. So it's getting a little more punch in the city, but keeping the clouds, these large chunks of contrast, pretty soft. Last bit, I think we'll do a little bit of tone. I'll add a tone enhancer, and I mainly want to do some brightening. Now, this is probably going to go over the top because tone goes pretty crazy on the auto setting. I'll turn that off. And what I'm really watching is the ballpark and these buildings here to bring those brightness levels up just a little bit. Not too much, And let me take a look at detail as well to give these guys a little more of a punch so that they stand out a little bit more. And now I'm going to apply a mask to remove this effect from most of the image. So let's get a masking bug, and I will choose the center shape. Click there. Okay. And we'll just position this in such a way that it's primarily over the ballpark and these buildings here. You know, it doesn't have to be exact, and it would have a decent blend, or I should say, you know, feather on this effect, but something like that. So just before and after. Oh, I need to invert that. Let me invert that. I should have used the edges shape, but we'll invert it. And okay, that looks a little bit unnatural, so we'll lower the overall effect to about half. There, that looks a little better. Just a little bit of additional, you know, brightness on this area to draw our eyes there. And that's effectively it. I don't think this needs a vignette. The corners are already dark. The eyes are coming straight into the center of the frame. And so we're really done. So the stylization is straightforward here. So that's it. The Lighten blending mode, it's very powerful. There's a bunch of different blending modes, whether it be in On1 layers or in Photoshop. I'm sure that other layering programs have this same concept. And what's nice about it is the masking between layers becomes very forgiving. You saw where there might have been a certain area of one frame where more light came into an area that I didn't want. And with a pretty sloppy brushing, you can just move it, remove it, just get it out of the way, and not have to be very precise about each one of the brush strokes. So that is it for this week in post. I hope you enjoyed it, picked up a couple of tips that you can use on your photos. And if you have photos you'd like to share, please, I'd like to hear from you. You can contact me through my website. It has all the pointers to my social media links. And you know, share a photo. I've gotten a few from various folks. It's been nice to see things, some of San Diego, some from around the world. And if you have questions about processing, please let me know. It'd be great to hear from you. Thanks again, and I'll see you again soon.